Hello cadets, and welcome to the NYPD pre-training lecture courses. We are all very happy to have you here today. Today's lectures will cover the rights a defendant has during the criminal justice process, the criminal justice process itself, and a few other things. My name is Krista McLennon, and today I will be talking to you about the rights a defendant has during the criminal justice process. So you can all go ahead and mark that off your schedule right now. Also, I am aware that I'm not the speaker you're all expecting today, but I assure you we'll get through this as painlessly as possible. So the first thing I was wanting to do is a very brief recap of the Bill of Rights, which I'm sure all of you know exactly what the Bill of Rights is, so we are going to keep it brief. The Bill of Rights is the first 10 amendments in the U.S. Constitution that grant the legal and civil rights of all people in the United States, anywhere in the United States. These freedoms include freedom of speech, assembly, press, religion, the right to bear arms, so on. We'll cover the rest, some of the rest more detailed after this. And lucky for all of you, this is what allows us all to assemble here today to listen to me talk, and I'm very sorry for that. Now, more specifically, like I said, we're going to talk about the rights a defendant has during the criminal justice process. But I'm breaking it down even further than that, so specifically we're going to be talking about the 4th, 5th, 6th, and 8th Amendments. We're going to be talking about these ones the most because these are the ones that you're going to be dealing with the most. They're the ones that are dealt with the most and that you'll most likely come into contact with in your future. It's very important that you know and remember these rights because infringing on them could get you into serious trouble. And it could also throw a case that you're working on or a case that you could be working on in the future. The very first one that we're going to talk about is the 4th Amendment. And this amendment protects citizens against unreasonable searches and seizures. It also requires a probable cause to back up any searches and seizures that do occur. For example, Sarah down the road. You have suspicion that she's selling drugs to the kids in the community. Well, you can't just go into her house and start ransacking the place, tearing it apart, searching for these drugs on hunch that you have, because you think she's selling drugs. You have to have probable cause, you have to have a warrant before you can go into someone's house and start searching for something. It can't just be a feeling you have to know, or be pretty sure. There's a few exceptions to the warrant. If you have consent given to you from the owner of the house, that still has limitations, but you are allowed to go in at that point. And the plain view doctrine, which you guys talked about yesterday, still has its limitations. You have to be careful with these, but it does allow you to go in and to briefly search without a warrant. Another thing that you need to keep in mind is that when you do have a warrant, you need to be specific to what the warrant says. So if the warrant tells you that you can go search their bedroom in this home, that means you can search the bedroom for what you're looking for. You can't search the entire house. You can't search the garage, the attic, the basement. You can search that one bedroom that you got the warrant for. Same goes for if you got a warrant for the garage. You can search the garage. You can't search every bedroom in the house. You can only search what the warrant allows you to search for. More specific with the warrant, it has to say within reason for what you're searching for. For instance, Johnny is suspected of stealing 15 55-inch flat screen TVs from Best Buy. How you get away with that, I don't know, but that's what you have a warrant for. You guys have probable cause that he's the one that stole these TVs, so you get a warrant and you go to his home and start searching for these TVs. You're searching everywhere and you come across his dresser. And for some reason you start searching his dresser drawers. In one of those drawers you find a kilogram of heroin ready for distribution. Well, now you're in trouble. What you just found, not admissible. You're going to have an extremely difficult time explaining why you were looking for a flat screen TV in a dresser drawer. That is very unreasonable. That is not acceptable. There's no way that that would be allowed. You're not going to find a TV there. That's unreasonable. You have to be careful not to cross that line. You can't cross the line between what is and isn't reasonable. The next thing we have is the 5th Amendment, which gives a right to grand jury indictment and due process. It also protects defendants against double jeopardy and self-incrimination. An example of this, a woman is suspected of killing her husband. She's in court. You have some evidence against her, but you don't have that vital piece of evidence that you need to make the jury and everyone else believe that she is guilty. So the jury finds her not guilty. They let her go, and 2 days later you find that huge piece of evidence that you needed that would have for sure found her guilty for this murder. It's too late. Just because you're ready doesn't mean you can have her put in court and tried again for the exact same crime. It can only be tried once. Another thing, self-incrimination. You're in an alley spray painting the side of a building. You're spraying graffiti all over. At the other end of the alley, you witness someone commit a murder. So now you're a witness. You're sitting in court. You're telling them what you saw, what happened, and they ask you why you were there. What were you doing in the alley at that time for you to witness that murder? Well, if you tell them what you were doing and why you were in that alley, now you're going to get yourself in trouble, and you're going to pick up some vandalism charges. So instead of doing that, you say, I plead the fifth. I'll still be a witness. I'll tell you what I saw, what happened, but what I was doing, I plead the fifth. You don't want to incriminate yourself and get yourself in trouble. Next, we have the Sixth Amendment, which covers a lot. It gives the right to a speedy and public trial with an impartial jury. Also, the right to be informed of the charges against the accused, to confront witnesses against the accused, to defense counsel, and have witnesses in favor of the accused. For instance, someone can't wait 7 years for a trial. They can't wait in jail for 7 years because that is not fair to people who are innocent. That's a punishment in itself. It has to be within a reasonable amount of time. Also, questions can't be asked to someone in private. Like, you can't go into someone's jail cell and rough them up, trying to get answers out of them, trying to get them to confess, trying to get them to tell you anything. You cannot do that. Part of the reason for that is because if you do that, there's no way for anyone to know if you told them their rights, if you told them that they're allowed to have their lawyer there, if you told them anything aside from trying to get answers from them. Also, you could be lying about what they told you. What they told you could have been entirely different from what you're saying they told you. There has to be reason here. You can't just go and do something. There has to be rules and limitations. Someone has to be there, lawyer, witnesses, so on. And finally, we have the Eighth Amendment, which protects against excessive bail and fines and protects against cruel and unusual punishment. For example, someone can't be fined $1 million or spend life in prison for littering. The fine or the punishment has to match the crime, has to be within reason of that crime. Fair, in a sense. Another thing, the cruel and unusual punishment. Someone who is caught stealing in our country can't have their hands cut off. That's cruel, that's unusual. The punishment has to fit the crime, has to be fair. And that's all for the main amendments that you're going to deal with. Again, 4th, 5th, 6th, and 8th amendments. Extremely important. Do not forget how important these amendments are. Keep them in mind anytime you're doing anything when it comes to dealing with someone during the criminal justice process. You got to know a little more about those amendments and a very brief recap on the Bill of Rights. Not as painful as you thought. I told you. Does anyone have any questions for me? Okay, thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of your day and the remaining of your lectures. Thank you so much.